house for just a little bit and came home that evening. The kids were in the living room playing and just relaxing, and I was in the kitchen doing some stuff, and I heard a really loud boom on the floor. So I ran from the kitchen into the living room, and our window had fallen completely out onto the floor. It didn't break or shatter, but it had just fallen completely out of the space. And so I quickly got the kids away from it, and I called my parents on the phone to come help me fix the window. And we were all up here working on it, fixing it, getting it back in, keeping the kids away from it. And before any of us could even think or move or blink, Layton made his way past everyone to the window and straight out of it within less than a second. And I watched him fall out of a 2-story window. We tried to grab him, but we couldn't reach him and get to him quick enough. We were right there at the window and still could not get him in our grasp. So he went out the window of a 2-story home, and I knew that I had just lost my son. So my mom and dad were still there, standing there in complete shock of what had just happened. And I opened the door to the side, and I ran down the deck stairs as quickly as I possibly could, faster than I've ever ran before. And I heard nothing. There was complete silence except for the screams of my mom. And when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I heard Layton cry. And so all I could do was thank God that he was alive. And then when I rounded the corner of the stairs, he was crawling off of the sandbox. And he was crying, but he was moving and he was alive. And I grabbed him up in my arms and just immediately began thanking God that my son was well, that he was alive, that he was breathing. We called 911, of course. They came and checked him out, and we went in the ambulance up to the hospital in Atlanta, where when we got there, doctors just crowded the room and just flooded the room. There were so many, I don't even know how many, surrounding us. And Layton was crying, he was scared. The doctors were all in masks and gowns and hats, and it was not a normal thing. He couldn't get to me because they were around him, and they let me come over aside of him. And he stood up and started trying to get to me, and when he did, the doctors just looked in amazement and said, "He's okay." They gave him a full checkout. He did not have one bruise or one scratch from that fall. And there's no way to explain it, but to say God had him when we couldn't get him in our grasp. God had him in his grasp. And we fully lived out Psalm 91 that day, where the angels beard him up in their hands. All that's down there under that window is a bunch of stone and a sandbox. And that sandbox was just pushed there just to get it out of the way, out of everything else. And that's what he landed on that day. So by the grace of God, we have our son. And you know, as a mom and as a teacher, sometimes all you want, even just for 5 minutes a day, is just a little bit of quiet time. Just a little bit of just quiet. But when I heard nothing on the way down those steps in complete silence, I could not have been more thankful to hear a baby cry than I was at that particular moment. So what I hope this does for everybody is that you see that if God can save my child who not even have a scratch or a bruise from falling out of a 2-story window, that whatever you need in your life, whatever miracle you need to see transpire, God has you in his hands, and he will provide for you.